This is my 2009 BMW 128i. It's a 1 Series, doesn't have turbos. It's about 3,100 pounds with a half tank of gas, which makes it a really compelling track car. Now hear me out, it doesn't have a ton of power, about 200 to the wheels, and while that's not impressive, we don't have the heat issues of a turbo car. We've got all the amazing suspension and even a few bits I've added that have made it very close to a 1M in its chassis, and all that comes at a really low price tag. The way you see the car now is only $10,000 all in. That means $5,800 purchase price, and the upgrades just brought me up to about 10 grand. Now there's a lot more I could do with this chassis, but it's already at a point where it is a real track contender, and there's a lot of potential to go to that next level. So let's talk brakes. All right, the car's 3,100 pounds, which is not terribly heavy, but it's still a lot of weight to slow down. The stock calipers were pretty small. They were single piston calipers, and the rotors were not necessarily large or anything to write home about. With a lot of aggressive pad compound, I was able to get a good bit out of the stock setup, but it just got so hot that those old wore out calipers finally seized on me. And the solution I ran into is the 135i stock setup, which is actually a 6-piston caliper, which is a brake rotor that is significantly larger than the stock one, and it still fits well under these 17-inch wheels. So this has been a really good solution for me. I'm running Ferrodo 2500 pads, which are like a street track compound. It's not a real aggressive race compound, and I'm able to buy the rotors and the pads from FCP Euro, which means when they wore out, I ship these back, pay my shipping, order another set, and then they just reimburse me. I mean, if they want to keep doing it, I'm going to keep using them. Now my focus can be on tires and gas, and otherwise I'm ready to go. So this is my setup, 17-inch Apex Arc 8 wheels. These are great, lightweight, durable, but also low-cost wheels, and they've got a sweet deal that if you buy the Apex wheels directly from them or from one of their dealers, and you damage a set, maybe you damage one, bend it, break it, in some kind of traumatic situation, you can buy another one for 50% off. It's a pretty neat deal. They know people drive these cars hard, and so you show up on track, you're going to find a lot of Apex wheels, particularly on BMWs. The car is clearly lowered, and that was done by a set of ISC coilovers bought from Bimmer World. They are not a high-end coilover setup, and the compromise is really felt on the street. When you go over rough pavement transitions, it's really obvious. It feels awful, if I'm being honest. But when you take it on track, the car is very planted. The mechanical grip is insane, and it soaks up even like the curbing. Turn 3 Road Atlanta loves it. I mean, you can be really aggressive. The car is very well planted, very predictable, and on any road surface that's moderate or better, it still feels great. It's just, there are moments when you feel that it's a cheap suspension setup. But the real reason I got it was it came with camber plates and it solved my camber issues. Before I did that, I was just wearing the outside of the tires incredibly aggressively, and I couldn't make it more than a couple days before ruining a set of tires, down to the tread or down through the tread on just the edges. So I wasn't getting good life out of the tires, and I had to change those out to keep things safe. So the coilovers enable me to get good life out of the tires. The brakes enable me to drive confidently on track, and long sessions in the southeastern heat that we've got down here, 80-degree days, high performance tracks like Road Atlanta, very aggressive on brakes. This holds up great. Got those Ferrodo 2500 pads, which are not even that aggressive, and they're holding up. The tires are lasting because of the camber, and that's pretty much what's done to this car. The only other thing really is I've got the lower control arms from the 1M or M3, and I put the spherical bearings in there, which regained a lot of the feel that is kind of the magic behind the 1M car. So that's what's done to this car. The deficiencies now are, you do feel a little bit of being held back by having just the regular open diff that uses the brakes to effectively act as like an E-diff. The downside to that is I get a lot of rear brake wear, and it's a little unpredictable at times. That being said, if I get into a slick condition, like I've been on the skid pad a couple of times, it will spin both tires. It will do a predictable slide in those conditions. So it's not total garbage, but I do feel like I lose a little feel and probably a little speed on corner exit. And I do feel like there's a little bit of unpredictability, and I'm also a little worried about how it enacts my brakes all the time. All that to be said, there's improvement to be made there, and I think I'd opt for a different gear ratio if I were to go in there anyways. So that's something that I would like to make an incremental change with. But the setup you see now, the $10,000 budget, you can build a very track-capable car that will be reliable and will be very enjoyable and usable on the street. And that's what's really compelling about this car. Low entry price, super capable chassis, opportunity for upgrades, and you're not gonna break the bank doing it. I love the small size, I love the lighter weight, and honestly, I've really come to love the looks too. So, take it or leave it. This is the 128i as I've got it envisioned, of like a stage 1, ready to track and still streetable car. Thanks for watching this. I've got, I'm happy to answer your questions, and if you've got any suggestions for me, this is an ever-evolving and growing platform and track car for me, and I'm going to continue to see where it can take me.